Now, in 1995, during my congressional career, I had a chance to be part of something very big. And it was called the Contract with America. And the Contract with America was not complicated or confusing. It was really a reflection of our values and frustrations over the course of our adult political lives. You know, we said that we were going to take care of people who were disabled, but we're not going to keep giving welfare to people who don't want to do anything for it, because it discourages them and it breaks their children down, and that we're going to change the welfare system and no one's entitled to anything. And we also said that tax cuts for families were important because the family is the essential part of the building block of our country. And we also said something radical, that every law, Jim, that we pass on them ought to apply to you. I think we all can agree with that. And of course, the cornerstone of the whole deal, the Contract with America, was balancing the budget. And the purpose of that was twofold. It wasn't about a budget or about numbers. It was about not leaving our children in a worse position than we were. To ring up debts and bills when at the reading of the last will, they get presented with more bills and more debt than they have assets. And secondly, that, you know, government out of control like that is the epitome of selfishness, and that politicians needed to have some guts and some courage. And we went through a government shutdown, and I traveled all over the country with Newt, and I had people yelling at me about how stupid we were, that we shut the government down. And I said, you know, folks, I want to tell you, if you want to have a balanced budget, no more gimmicks, no more nonsense, no more political gibberish, we're going to get this done. And I led a group of people who were willing to stand up, walk on hot coals, and frankly, risk their jobs, their re-elections, their staff's jobs, all of that. And I spent 10 years of my life at it. 10 years of my life with naysayers telling me, John, you'll never climb the hill to balance the budget and cut taxes and pay down debt. 10 years of my life, I was at it with my colleagues, the numbers grew, and at the end of the day, we passed the first balanced budget since man walked on the moon, with significant tax cuts, including capital gains reductions, and paid down the largest amount of debt in the history of the United States of America. Not bad, huh, for what we did. And then the goofballs lost their way. I mean, they just forgot it all. Spent all those years, 40 years getting there. 40 years we were in the minority, and we had a purpose. We had a vision, back to what I was saying about that great Scottish runner. We had a real reason to get up and go to work and think about the things that we could do to improve the lives and make our country a better place. And then they forgot it all. They fell in love with power, and power corrupts. And at the same time they fell in love with power, they fell in love with money. And you know, if you want to be a public servant, you don't get rich. You're there to serve, just like somebody that, you know, an easier job. You can go in the military and serve and put your life on the line. Churchill used to say in politics, you can die 1,000 deaths and war only once. So, you know, it was not a big thing to ask people to serve and not to enrich themselves and to keep the purpose in mind. And they lost it. And they lost it in Washington, and they lost it in this state. Corruption, taxes, spending. It was a betrayal of the principles that we celebrate when we gather at these dinners. Now, I more than think, I sort of know that they got the message. I mean, I think they understand that they went the wrong direction. Now we have a guy like John Boehner, who's the son of a bar owner, from down in Westchester, Ohio. He understands common sense and basic values. He's now in charge of the House Republicans, and you know, he came up with a simple idea. If we're depending on people who take our money and use it to educate their children to hate Americans, and they live in the Middle East or wherever they are, we need to drill in this country to become energy self-sufficient. No nonsense, let's do it today and let's get it done. That's an awakening. That's basic value. And I don't think Jim Jordan's going to waste his time down there. If he does, I'm going to lead Polly and I and all of you, we'll go down and we'll pay him a little visit. I think he'll be just fine. But we have to get back to these principles. And what are they? They're not complicated. They're the government really at the end of the day is there to do things that people can't do for themselves. It's not any more complicated than that. If we can do it for ourselves, if it can be privatized, if it can be modernized, If it can be contracted out, we don't need to be doing it. Let the government do the things that it must do, and anything beyond that gets to be superfluous. And you know what it tends to do? I'm in Denver at the Democrat convention, covering it for Fox News, and I'm watching. They can't even figure out how to get these planes to land because the computer system with the FAA is so bad that they can't manage that. They couldn't manage Katrina. They can't manage so many other things. Get them to manage what they know, make it limited, and have it work, and have it worth our money. Those are sort of the fundamental principles.